Hello, and welcome to another edition of On 1300. I'm Xochitl Mora with the City of McAllen, and joining me today is Chairman of the McAllen Public Utility Board of Trustees, Mr. Charles Amos. Mr. Amos, thank you so much for being here.
It's good to be here.
We are really excited to have you here to represent MPU. This is the second time we've had someone from MPU here. Earlier this year, we were able to talk to Mr. Vega, the general manager for MPU. And in that interview, we focused on the recent financial rating that MPU had received. But one of the most AA+, which is very, very wonderful for MPU and the City of McAllen, obviously that fiscal responsibility of management of our assets and our money as a resource. But here, you are here today. One of the highlights is that MPU is the only elected board for a utility in Texas, and that is important because of your responsibility. So we do want to hear from you, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier.
Well, it's a direct responsibility back to the voters.
Yes, this is true, just as it is of our elected officials for their municipality and other elected offices. But this means then that our ratepayers have a direct responsibility with managing how our resources, our water resources are utilized here. But the MPU board is very dedicated, passionate individuals who are serving a community that is generally in a drought area, drought-prone area. And so it takes smart management of not only, as we talked about, the money, but the resource of water, which is the most important resource that we have.
It's gold of tomorrow.
It is, and of today, right? Exactly. And that's why it's so wonderful. The main reason why we were bringing you in is because MPU was recently featured in a national publication, our recycled water program that MPU has, which was one of the second in the state of Texas to have a water recycle program and the first in the Rio Grande Valley. So can you tell us a little bit about that feature and what that was all about?
Yes, we were recognized in a national publication for the efforts that we have made in utilization of reclaimed water, recycled water, reused water. No longer do we have sewer plants, but we have water reclamation plants. And to take the water that's been used one time and take that byproduct and enable it to be reused again, rather than taking potable water for that same purpose, is a win-win. We accomplish what the original purpose was, watering something, and we take that demand off of our capacity. I'll use the example of currently at the North Plant, we made some modifications a couple of years ago that was recognized in this magazine. We partnered with the development of Tres Lagos and the city in developing a reuse backbone, if you would, that takes reused water out to Tres Lagos. Every residence and common area has a separate meter utilizing utilizing reused water for irrigation purposes. Now, this water is clean. I mean, it's if you put two glasses, one of reuse and one of potable drinking water next to each other, it would be difficult for you to determine visually the difference between the two. But we put out a type 1 class reuse water out of our North Plant and are capable of doing the same now at our South Plant. But to get back to Tres Lagos, that provided us with the infrastructure and a basis to pay for the additional improvements that we made at the North Wastewater Plant. And so now we have, I think it is something like over 800 homes and all of Tres Lagos. The grounds are all irrigated with reused water. In doing so, it enabled us to take another pipe to the new ball fields that the city did up on the north side. I guess that's at 29th and I'm not sure what the cross street would be. But they are blending reuse water with irrigation water to stretch that capacity to use on ball fields. We're very proud of that. We are capable of producing about 6 million gallons of reuse water a day. We're talking about this today in Tres Lagos in the ballpark, but we've been supplying reuse water for the power generation plants that are up on Monte Cristo for over 20 years.
I did want to ask about that. We're talking about recycled water and how important that is. Tres Lagos is a new subdivision in North McAllen.
Correct.
The McAllen Youth Baseball Complex was also just opened. Both of these just a few years ago. 29th and Auburn, I believe, is the cross street, and in North McAllen. And obviously, what we're doing through MPU is using this recycled water for irrigation of the lawns and green spaces there, which is great because then that leaves more water for us who are the consumers to drink, which is so important. So yes, you've been doing this though for quite some time. You said 20 years.
Over 20 years. We were originally, and this was right before I came onto the board, we were approached by the power companies that have the generation facilities up at McAllen, Monte Cristo, that general area. And they asked us if we could do that, and we built a reservoir that's at the north plant, and have been doing that since then. We've been producing a very high quality type 2 or type 1 water even before the improvements were made. So this is water that's reclaimed, that has limited purposes, that the power companies don't have to use potable water, drinking water. It's being saved for us. And then irrigation water, which is another source that they would use, is being saved for agriculture, which is a win-win. And if we do that, then we don't have to take that from our drinking water. As most people are aware, we get our water from the Rio Grande River, almost all of it. We have a water well at the south plant that produces about 1.2 million gallons of water a day. And it's great water. It's one of the lowest, surprisingly, one of the lowest salt contents of groundwater. But that's to supplement. All of that water comes off of the Rio Grande. We clean it up and send it out. And we still have some of the lowest rates, or a combined rate, in the state. I think the effectiveness that we've had is due greatly in part because of the way that our city fathers originally organized the utility, in that it is that elected board, and we are solely responsible for the indebtedness and the operation of the utilities.
And so you were talking about that currently the MPU provides 6 million gallons of recycled water.
We're capable of $6 million.
Okay.
Over 6 million. Currently, the average is about 4.5 to 5 that we're utilizing from the north plant alone.
Okay.
And this was the power plants in Tres Lagos and the other areas up there. But we've also been recycling water on the south side for years. We've been providing the golf course, Palmview, with reclaimed water for about the same period of time. They do the same thing. They blend it with irrigation water and to stretch their water supply.
And so other than these entities already named, is there plans to expand that reclaimed use to others or expand the ability or that limit of the reclaimed water use?
As a matter of fact, yes. Currently, we're revising our master plans for our water system, our wastewater system, and a complete, we've had a master plan for reuse, but we're looking at the entire city rather than parts of the city, and looking at what we need to do in the future. And yes, we are going to continue to be supplying reused water to offset the use of drinking water so that we have that drinking water for the people. We have acquired water rights over the period of time to keep up with and be ahead of our demand. And currently, we have the capacity between our 2 water plants to produce 62 million gallons of water a day. Our average consumption is 22 million gallons of water a day. And during the depth of the drought and this time of the year, when we don't have rain, we can start bumping 50. But we have the capacity that far exceeds what our need is, but we have supplied water on an emergency basis to our sister cities around us, Mission, Far, Edinburgh, Hidalgo, for years. We have interconnects, and we're always improving it. But to be able to stretch our 62 million gallons a day to where we don't have to build more plants and that kind of stuff by utilization of reclaimed water, it's a win-win. And I'd like to use this example real quick. Tres Lagos, their water, their potable drinking water is being supplied by Sherryland Water Supply. And they pay whatever that Sherryland rate is. And we, in turn, are taking their effluent water, their sewer water, taking it to our north plant and getting paid about $1.85 per thousand to clean it up. And then we're sending it right back to them at about 80 cents a thousand so they can water their yards. So here we have, once again, a circle where we didn't have the initial operation costs, but we're getting paid to do it.
Yes.
And it's, and we keep those rates. It's still lower. San Antonio, one of the largest recycling cities in the state, and their recycled water rate is the same as their potable water.
Wow.
So we have the ability, because of efficiencies, to keep those
them
costs low.
And aside from just the capacity of our facilities, and I think it's probably a no-brainer for people who live in this part of Texas to understand, why is the recycling water program so important?
Well, you think about this, and this, during the depth of the drought a few years ago, recycled water was utilized to supplement a couple of cities in the state of Texas, supplement their drinking water. And it's as clean as any other water there ever was, when they had no other water to use to create clean drinking water. And oftentimes people will sit back and go, ugh. Hence why we're kind of going to reclaimed. But think about this for a moment. We've had a scientific laboratory orbiting our Earth for many, many years. And I guess what, approaching 20? There is no pipeline from the ground to the space station. They utilize evaporated water from sweat and any other source and reclaimed water. And yes, they supplement it with water that they take up in a ship,
Sure.
But that's costly. So they've laid the groundwork for what we do as far as recycling is concerned. And it's a technology that keeps moving forward in leaps and bounds.
Well, it's certainly a responsible use of our finite resources, and
Absolutely.
hopefully, and to have an elected board that is so dedicated to that preservation of this resource, this protection of the resource, and the recycling of this resource, which is our drinking water, is so important. And so one of the other issues that MPU handles, aside from recycled water and, of course, our rates, is the management of how we receive our water. And I understand that right now MPU is currently working through a situation with one of the irrigation districts, irrigation district number 3. And so I'd like to, if you could explain just what that is and why this is an important issue for MPU to champion.
As I said earlier, all of our water essentially comes from the Rio Grande. It is delivered to the plants by irrigation canals and the utilization of irrigation districts. We pay them an amount of money to deliver that water to our plants. And that's incorporated in our rate that we have to charge people. So it's directly related. If they go increase their rate, that pressures us to do the same thing, increase our rate. We have faced this challenge on a number of occasions with District 3 over the years. And unlike many of the other districts, but this year they increased their rate from what I believe was $92 per acre foot of water. That's 1 foot of water, an acre in dimension. I can't tell you what it translates into gallons, but it's several thousand. And they deliver that water to us. They gave us notice that their new rate was going to be $114 per acre foot. It was difficult for us to kind of look at that and not have to pass on an increase to our ratepayers, to our customers. We're very conscious of that because we know the impact that it has, in particular on our low-income people. These are people that are normally on fixed incomes that really can't afford to have any increase in their cost of living. And we have strived over the years to keep it as low as we could. But to get back to this, we have water that is delivered currently by 3 irrigation districts to our 2 plants. And we are in the process, and I don't know if we started turning dirt yet, but another connection at our north water plant from another irrigation district. And we're excited about being able to do that. We have redundancy. We have, at our south plant, 2 irrigation districts deliver water. If one of them goes offline, we have the other. Same thing's going to be true at our north plant. But to be faced with that type of an increase and being told several truly unverifiable reasons for the increase, it makes us think about it real hard. It makes it difficult for us to easily embrace because it's going to cost us operationally more money. And it's going to, it makes it just more difficult for us to keep what is close to the lowest combined water and sewer rate in the state of Texas. And we take great pride in being that effective and efficient to be able to do that. But District 3 has been an ongoing challenge for years and years over at least 10 different mayors that I know of. So we hope that we can see more transparency from them as to why. Our budget and our operating expenses are readily available online to some degree and or with a public information request. And unfortunately, Irrigation District 3 has ignored public information requests for years. District 3 supplies about 60% of our water
for the city of McAllen.
Delivery. Mm-hmm. We are about 94% of their annual income, what we pay them. They deliver about 90% of all of their water that they have allocated to the city of McAllen. So we are their largest supplier, we're their largest source of income, and yet, unfortunately, we've not partnered well over the years. Once again, disappointing to say the least. But we're hoping that there will be more transparency, more opportunity to find out, okay, who can vote in the district, who's eligible to be in the district, what that process is, because once again, it's not something that's information that's generally available to the public or to the city.
Well, the City of McAllen, as residents, I am a City of McAllen resident, we do appreciate the passion and dedication which our MPU board operates in managing the utility system, and of course being very responsible fiscal managers of the rate and the rates that we pay for our water and sewer system. So we want to thank you. I want to thank you so much, Mr. Amos, for coming in, unless there's anything else you'd like to talk about,
Yeah.
but we're really excited to hear more about
There's only one other thing I'd like
Yes.
to add. We are very fortunate in our city to have had the opportunity to produce and to recruit some of the best folks in the valley that are part of our organization. From our water line repair crews, wastewater repair crews, operators, the whole 9 yards from our standpoint, and also on the city side, on the public works side. We've got personnel that really care about what they do. And in our case, whenever there's a weather event where power is lost, and I'll make one more point, our folks are out there working. No matter what the weather is, they're out there doing their job, and they take themselves away from their own families to work and provide services to the city. During the infamous Snowmageddon, McAllen, along with Brownsville, were two of the few cities in the state that didn't have to provide or require a boil water notice. And for those that don't know, if there's a possibility of infiltration of dirty water, it requires a boil water notice, because you have to boil water to make sure that you get all of the germs or bacteria removed. But we were one of a handful of cities in the state. San Antonio had a boil water, Dallas had a boil water, Houston and Corpus. We could go down the list. Austin, I think Austin was actually out of water for almost a month in some areas. But we had water, and we were supplying water to our sister cities.
Yes.
So the capacity, the capability, and to have the personnel that are ready to sacrifice to do what they do, I'm very proud to say that I'm a part of that organization.
Well, I know that when we had Mark here earlier this year, and we were talking about the employees of MPU, and not only did our operations continue to run during the winter storm, right before that, it happened a few days before the actual winter storm, but the city of San Angelo had a situation, and because of the expertise of our MPU folks, the state of Texas Division of Emergency Management sent McAllen MPU folks to City of San Angelo to assist with that, and again also in these winter conditions, and to help them to be able to have drinking water.
Well, they had a problem. We were asked to go help. We sent personnel to do just that. We partially resolved this issue before our people, using good sense, decided to try and beat that storm back to the valley. But we've been recognized by the state on many different occasions for projects just like that. When the big hurricane occurred, I guess, 15 years ago in Galveston, we were the second. The valley sent 150 plus people to clean up and to get their services back up. And we were able to get rudimentary water supply and sewer systems running for a very limited area in Galveston. We did the same thing after Harvey in the Corpus Christi area, and we were there for days doing this for other people because we were fortunate enough not to have to deal with the same problems here. Mutual assistance. And we've done it over and over and over, and the state comes to us. And it's a good thing to feel. I mean, it's a great feeling to know that they trust us enough to do that.
Yes, well, I know that we're very proud of our MPU folks and the work that they do every day, whether it's hot day or a beautiful fall day or rainy, cold day. They are out there working to ensure that we have our water and sewer service, as many of our other City of McAllen departments who work in those conditions as well.
Yes.
But we appreciate their work, and of course, we are so proud to have had you today in our studio to talk about the management of the MPU facilities, and of course, this reclaimed water program that's been recognized on a national level, and we're excited to see how it's impacting the City of McAllen and hopefully continue to grow with us.
We're ready to grow.
Well,
thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Amos, for being here. Again, thank you for continuing to watch MCN for the City of McAllen. I'm Xochitl Mora.